Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat and welcome po sa the Filipino SDG Action Hour. At muli niyo kaming samahan sa isa't kalahating oras ng hitik na kwentuhan at tiyak pong kapupulutan ng aral at karunungan. Ayusin ko lang po ang aking camera. Lex, paayos naman po ako para po tayo kita ng layan. Salamat po. At ngayon po, samahan niyo po kami ngayong biyernes na to. So natapos na naman po ang ating buong linggo. At sabi ko nga po, samahan niyo po kami sa isa't kalahating oras ng hitik-hitik na kwentuhan na tiyak po namang kapupulutan ng mga aral at karunungan na may kaugnayan po sa SDG. So sasamahan po tayo ngayon ng isang eksperto sa larangan po ng agroforestry at agriculture upang pag-usapan ang topic na perennialization, agroforestry, a resilient strategy for smallholder farms in the upland. At ang ating pong panauhin ay kasalukuyang dekano ng College of Agriculture sa Western Mindanao State University simula noong taong 2020. Nagsimula siyang maging guro noong 2016 matapos maglingkod bilang agricultural technologist sa Office of the City Agriculturist sa loob ng 16 na taon. Nakamit niya ang kanyang PhD in Agronomy sa Universidad ng Pilipinas sa Los Baños noong 2019. At bilang maniliksik, siya po ay mayroong 16 na authored at co-authored scientific paper at nagpresenta ng maraming pananaliksik sa iba't ibang forum. Kasama siya sa mga proyekto tulad ng pagtatag ng Research Development Center for Native Chicken at pagbuo ng improved soil mix para sa raised bed farming. Aktibo rin po siya sa 6 na proyekto na pinondohan ng DOST at Department of Agriculture para suportahan ang food security at green campus ng universidad. Nagsilbi siyang consultant at technical consultant sa mga paggawa ng urban agriculture na ngayon ay City Ordinance na. Ito ay City Ordinance number 637. Nakatulong din siya sa pag-aayos ng presyo ng pagbili ng palay na itinaas mula 19 pesos patungo sa 24 pesos sa Zamboanga City. Siya din ang nagsimula ng pag-aaral ng energy accounting at carbon sequestration sa agrikultura sa buong Zamboanga Peninsula sa Pilipinas. So napakadami po achievement. So wag na po tayong patagalin. Let's all welcome Dr. Elderico P. Tabal. Sir, welcome po sa Future Earth Philippines.
Good afternoon po sa lahat.
Thumbs up po kung ate po naririnig po si Sir. Kahit po heart reaction po. Yan.
Yes, salamat naman, no? Salamat sa introduction, Sir Mark. I don't know, I'm starting to share my slides, and allow me first to thank um, the organizer for inviting me to be here, and such an honor to discuss a topic which very important in Zamboanga City, and what I really hope that this can also provide insights to our listeners, Sir Mark. And again, thank you so much for inviting me here, and I'm honored. Again, I am Rico Tabal, and I am an agronomist, and currently a faculty and a researcher in Western Mindanao State University. And I'm also working for one big project right now, and very timely, because the project that we are trying to work on is about the establishment of Agroforestry and Innovation Center in Western Mindanao. So yun yung sana mabigyan ng pagkakataon. So um, uh, is this slide now visible?
Pa-heart attack, pa-heart attack, pa-heart react po.
Yeah.
O kaya po pa thumbs up kung nakikita po. Yan.
Yeah. So yan. I am about to share our experience, my experience, our experience, and the experience of my team on the perennialization of our upland areas, or upland environments. And this is about agroforestry and its resilience, no, as a resilient strategy for smallholder farms in the uplands. So let me start just a quick review. Well, it could be very academic in nature, but it's just to put in together the background of the entire presentation. So allow me first to share about a little concept of perennialization. Um, I got this from the publication of Jemison in 2016. And according to him, it's from its root, Latin root perennis, and meaning it's lasting through the whole year. So that's the whole year. So yun yung description niya doon sa perennis. So in agriculture, this is about converting annual-based crop systems to perennial, no? Perennial, or that's the enduring one. So basically, it integrates woody perennials, no, in like food crops and food species, no? Food crops and forest species in one unit area. So again, Jameson describing it the whole system where perennial crops can substitute the traditional annuals to address damaged soil and water availability. You know, I'm from Zamboanga City, and the whole peninsula itself is about 70% upland. So it is just right that our university be involved in developing or involving our researchers in tapping as determining and assessing the condition of our upland environments. So there are key benefits, no, from other sources. From Jemison in 2016, sabi niya perennialization of our upland environments. But Wycraft or the World Agroforestry Center would describe it about agroforestry. The description or the idea of Jemison, which is perennialization, and now the idea of World Agroforestry Center is agroforestry. So it's about growing trees in the farms, but they have the same benefits. So in three ways, there are three key benefits that agroforestry or perennialization of our upland environments can provide: environmental, economic, and social. No, so these are coming from different sources, like Jose in 2019, Alaba Lapati in 2004, Reguero Rodriguez et al. In 2009. So basically, like in many cases, doing field works, we observe that the presence of perennial crops and trees, especially in the uplands, would continually provide ground cover. So that's one benefit that directly benefiting our land or our farm. And perennials has deep root systems, and since they are woody, then it increases the carbon stocks per hectare per unit land area. And because they have ground cover, deep rooted, and they can reduce soil and nutrient loss via soil erosion. And because you have a number of fruit trees, perennials plus annual crops, then you are diversifying the income of a farm holder in the uplands. So looking at these benefits, we observe that in many cases, it can sustain land productivity. So you have environmental protection, livelihood, and income for the upland households, upland people. No, I'm talking only in Zamboanga City. So this is our experience in Zamboanga City. Especially later on, I'll be um, talking about our data, no, the data collected from the community-based forest management. So this is a tie-up collaboration with the local government of Zamboanga City and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources dito sa Community, Environment and Natural Resources. Let me proceed. Um, yeah, I'm sure we are so familiar about the the many ecological advantages of agroforestry systems. You have they are integrated in one land unit area, but what notably perennials live longer compared to annual crops, and they develop over time. No, the develop deep root systems over time compared to the annuals. No, so these are few things, and because they are permanent, then it saves energy and labor costs for farmers than farming annual crops in year basis, and it also saves farmers the cost of pesticides and herbicides. So later on, I'll also be sharing about the net emission or carbon emission coming from the various agricultural inputs. So these are again ecological advantages of perennials over the annual crops. So to move forward, let's talk about Zamboanga City, my home place. Currently, as I speak, we are now more than 1 million, and it is highly urbanized with 98 barangays with 2 congressional districts. So we are third, I think, in terms of land area, next to Davao. We have around 148,000 hectares, but 70% of it is upland. Only 30% is flat terrain, but you know, uh, this is also where land use change and land conversion is happening. No, we see development and urbanization in this 30% land area. So the effect is we have less than 2,000 hectares rice paddies that supports our need. So what happens? Uh, we are only 11% rice sufficient. So based on the report of the Office of the City Agriculturist in 2024. And in our calculation as well, when we had our study with PICARD, we are only 65% vegetable sufficient. So looking at this information, Zamboanga City, I say that we are very vulnerable to food insecurity, and presenting some data in many of the inquiries in the Sangguniang Panlungsod. And it does not change. We are so vulnerable to food insecurity. And the reason we need to tap our upland areas to develop or enhance the upland food systems, no? And basically, why we do that? Because we want to develop a resilient farming system to farm households. So what comes next is our partnership. So WIMSU, where I am teaching, where I am working, we partnered this endeavor to the Department of Natural Resources and the City Government of Zamboanga, mainly to assess the and determine and assess the existing agroforestry systems within the community-based forest management. Uh, per EO number 269, signed in 1995. This document shows that CBFM is a model management system. So we try to look at the condition of CBFM areas here in Zamboanga City since 1995. So basically, the CBFM was a strategy, to promote sustainable forestry by involving local communities, especially in the upland areas, to protect and manage the forest, any remaining forest resources. Just want to inform that as Zamboanga City as well, there were three logging concessions. So we, after the logging concessions, illegal loggers came in. So we have denuded forests. And right now, we only have around less than 1,000 pristine forests. And with that, with no dam, then aside from food, our next problem is water. And we've seen this impact when we had or experienced the drought or El Nino last year. So the CBFM with key objectives. So these are, number one, to democratize access to forests, improve socioeconomic condition of upland communities because they were the beneficiaries of the program, and conserve biodiversity through the establishment of agroforestry, being a strategy for smallholder farms. So showing you here the maps, digital map of Zamboanga City and the 16 CBFM areas, the CBFM sites within Zamboanga City. So the CBFM areas in Zamboanga City, there are 16 sites, 12 in the East Coast and 4 in the West Coast. So they were the subject of this analysis, and total hectares of that, around 12,000 hectares, more than 12,000 hectares. All of them are in mountainous areas or in upland areas. And yung terrain niya, yung elevation ranges from 200 to 1,500 meters above sea level. So showing you the digitalized elevation map, of the 16 CBFM sites. So of these 16 sites, we were able to analyze and assess 9 dominant agroforestry systems within these CBFM sites. So even up to now, we continue the field visitations in these areas and in constant connection with DNR and the local government unit of Zamboanga. So we look at this is coded like the types of AFS and the tree and crop components of this per system. So we have cocoa-based one, that's about coconut and banana. Okay, that's very dominant in the upland areas. Why? Because it's for food. No, banana is source of food and immediate income for the family. Coconut-based too is coconut, rubber, and banana. So rubber since the early 2000 have grown a lot in Zamboanga City. So right now we have around 2,000 to 3,000 hectares of rubber in Zamboanga City alone. So coconut-based tree is coconut, rubber, banana, and this mahogany. So there are households planting mahogany as source of their lumber, lumber. So this is planted around perimeters. So there are also 3 rubber-based, 1, 2, 3. The one is rubber and upland. So these are newly planted or 3-5 years rubber planted or partnered with or integrated with upland rice. Rubber base 2 is rubber, coconut, and banana. And rubber base 3 is rubber, coconut, banana, and malambuaya. This is a type of um, a forestry, no? Forestry. Um, and Lanzones base. We have in the uplands, we see as well the suitability of various cultivars of Lanzones, and this is partnered or integrated into coconut, banana, and some fruit forestries. We have mango and marang. Marang is very common in Zamboanga City. So this is wide. These are wild uh, trees, no, that is widely growing in the mountain areas of Zamboanga City. So we try to assess them in terms of their characteristics, just to give a little view on the physical attributes of these different identified major agroforestry systems. So we look at the which one is really good. No? There are uh, poor system and the good. No? And we look at the good. If it's rubber based, then in terms of stocking, it should be more than 500. Okay, 500 trees or rubber trees. And its stand goes up more than 10 meters in height with wide canopy and with bigger DBH. And the same with coconut. Coconut, it's good if the stock more than 100 110 to 120 palms per hectare and more than 30 cm ang kanyang diameter at breast height. So I'm showing you this because part of the assessment when we did this and with our continued effort to monitor is the measurement or accounting of the biomass and carbon sequestration per system. So ganun din si Lanzones base. There are good system and poor system. So to continue, the mango is as well described in terms of its attributes and as well as the marang base. Okay. Again, these are all located in upland and mountainous areas of Zamboanga City. Okay. So this nine, this is the recent uh, surveyed in 2020 or 2023. The estimated income of the nine, as I described to you each its attributes, and now we have the economic viability. So highlighting here is the Lanzones base. Lanzones is a seasonal crop in Zamboanga City and as well as in Region 9, and it's the most sought product. So since this is abundant, then plus the quarterly income from coconut, weekly and monthly from banana, and Lanzones being a system comes up with a very good economic value, no? With a monthly income of 20,536 pesos compared to marang, mango, although these are also fruit-based, compared to rubber-based and coconut-based. So, outstanding ang income ni Lanzones-based. So, this is a significant information that we shared to our local government and to the Department of Agriculture. So, another characteristic of a perennial crop integrated in a food system, or it's an agroforestry system, we measured its carbon sequestration rate. Okay, So there are 5 components. We consider the 5 components is to account everything. UPS stands for the upper story biomass. Upper story. UDS is under story biomass. Then we have the root biomass. FLB is the floor lethal biomass and the soil organic carbon. So we see the gross carbon stocks, gross carbon dioxide stocks in ton carbon dioxide equivalent per hectare. And we have the highlighting here the net emission per system. I will explain a little on this. I'll be showing the next slide how we came up with the net emission per system. So arriving at the net carbon dioxide sequestered per system per hectare. Highlighting as well here, kasi we also analyze the pure forest stand that is also within the community-based forest management system. So without net emission, because that is beyond the intervention of humans, so you see the net sequestration rate is 5 times than the uh, the higher uh, rates of rubber base and coconut base. So we have as well the pure stand upland rice, pure stand yellow, no, napakababa, no. These are monocrop system. So pure forest, but we also look at the different systems with its potential sequestration rate. We look at coconut-based systems and the rubber-based systems. So since these are dominant systems in the upland areas of Zamboanga City. Okay, how we came up with the net emission? We know that these systems also requires fertilizers and agrochemicals. And so we as well determine the level of use in terms of herbicide. Yung rubber base, very common, ginagamitan ng herbicide and as well as coconut, no? And during this time, may common si cocolizap in various areas. So may insecticide and as well as fungicide. So there is carbon emission equivalent of each specific input. I have derivations, but I don't have the enough time to discuss this with you. But basically, every inputs that is utilized in the farm, in the system, it has an equivalent emission, uh, either in the carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram or a ton. So we have the net emission. So to arrive at the net carbon sequestered, so we have the gross minus the net, then we have the net carbon stocks or net carbon dioxide sequestered in ton carbon dioxide equivalent per hectare per system. So let me continue. There are as well challenges. We recorded some of the institutional and policy challenges. Land tenure, for instance. Our CBFM beneficiaries, they hold only an instrument, but it's not an absolute ownership. And so they're afraid of developing their area. They are afraid that the government may common notion. So they're afraid to develop the area and plant more and develop it into a productive system. So return of investment is longer, no? They think that agroforestry systems, they have to wait for 3 to 5 years so that they can get their return and income, and as well as access to financial resources, no? And governance. So for our upland areas, they cannot get technical assistance, no, from the offices, and as well policies that governs the um, the existence of CBFM in Zamboanga City. So very limited ang kanilang access. And so as our way forward, we recorded three. The first two, these are directly came from um, came from our participants in the upland area, so our beneficiaries. They wanted to be insured for land tenure. No? Ito yung hiningi nila, land tenure, and developing an inclusive producer organization. So cooperatives perhaps that work together and strengthen the group towards at meeting the objective, not just protecting the upland environments, but as well enhancing the livelihood of the smallholder farms in the upland areas. Itong pangatlo is very academic, very doable at our level, using science-based tools to optimize and scaling up upland food production systems in the upland environment. So again, yeah, the upland in three things, in three ways. Agroforestry, not just a resilient strategy for our upland households, but it provides as well economic and environmental benefits, and it can um, provide an environment where emitted or carbon is sequestered back into the system. So again, I'd like to thank Mark and um, uh, the organizer. Thank you so much for bringing me here. Thank you so much.
Naku sir, maraming salamat din po sa inyong pong pag-aambag ng inyong kaalaman tungkol sa agroforestry. Malamang sir, ito po ang sagot sa problema hindi lang po sa climate change. Ito po yung makakatulong. Pati na rin po, I think, doon sa issue po ng pagbaha. Lately po,
Correct.
napakalaking topic po ng tungkol sa pagbaha, lalo na po nangyari sa Cebu. So, nakikita ko po itong isang malaking solusyon tungkol po sa hindi lang po pagtatayo ng mga subdivision sa bundok. Siguro maari po natin i-incorporate itong agroforestry to make sure na safe po yung mga tinatayong establishment sa ating mga kabundukan. So right now, we're going to open our floor sa ating pong mga panelists, mga attendees. Open po ang floor sa ating pong mga questions. So sir, mauna po ako since nabanggit ko na po ang napakainit pa pong topic tungkol po sa pagbaha po tungkol po sa Cebu. So sir, palagay niyo po ba ito pong ah, perennialization, agroforestry, kung ito po ba ay in-incorporate muna nung mga developer po sa Monterrasa, naghintay po sila ng taon bago po nila to gawing parang condominium. Sa palagay nyo, sir, ito po ay nakatulong para hindi po maging ganoong kalala yung problema sa flash flood sa Cebu.
Um, Salamat Mark sa tanong. Got a chance to work with a climate group that is funded by USAID, and uh, work with them for 6 months. At least I can talk of Zamboanga City condition. Bahain na din dito, Mark, sa Zamboanga City, no? Hindi na tulad noon. And siguro ito yung resulta din ng continued deforestation. Kaya marrying agriculture and forestry, that is agroforestry. Sa tama si Jamison, the perennialization is the only way, no, to secure back the environmental protection of the remaining natural resources in the upland areas. So going back to this connection with the climate group, we analyzed that during hard rain, 96% of the rainwater from the mountains goes to coastal areas. So meaning, wala na masyadong mark na nagtatrap or slowing down the effect of flash flood from
Tama.
the uplands down because yun nga, denuded na yung aming mga forests. And secondly, only about 5 to 6% of rainwater goes back to the ground or turning into groundwater. So what we see is very conclusive yung kanilang findings, no, findings ng mga experts. So yung effect ng at least I am referring to our sites in two different experience, Mark. Yung denuded forest, yun yung 96%. Rainwater goes straight from the upland, from the mountains into the shoreline. However, itong mga areas na nabanggit ko sa CBFM areas, community-based forest management areas, because nandoon yung mga agroforestry na promote ni DNR, na promote ni city government, and we see reduction, no? Reduction of rainwater that comes down from the mountain going to different rivers. Ano yung reduction? Maniwala ka, almost 50%, Mark, yung reduction. So meaning, there is hope how we can stop baha and flooding in our cities, and especially yung mga low-lying areas in the city. So at least sa Cebu, kung may experience nila yon, then yung experience namin ganon, but may nagawa. Nakita natin yung effect ni agroforestry systems in these 16 different sites, Mark. So I think yung hope ng agroforestry system, not just for livelihood income, but that can also reduce the effect of runoff water from the upland areas downstream to different rivers and tributaries. Yun lang po, Mark. Pwede, Mark.
Saka sir, ma-share ko lang po yung study po na naobserbahan ko po na ako po'y bachelor's pa lang po. Meron po isang site po sa Quezon na kung saan may monocropping po na ang nakatanim po ay puro nyog versus po doon sa isang area po na ang tanim naman po ay mga mangga. Sa napansin po doon sa study na since mas lush po yung mga puno ng mangga, yung mga halaman, yung mga dahon, mas madami po yung mga dahon, mas less po yung soil erosion saka po yung
Correct.
pag-ano po ng tubig. Kumpara po doon sa mga puno po ng sanga po ng nyog na kung saan siya napakanipis lang, hindi po niya nakukuha yung impact ng ulan direkta po sa lupa.
Yeah.
So doon po sir, based po sa study na yon, nasabi po na malaki po ang impact po talaga kapag po ang ating pong itatanim ay mga puno na malalaki po yung kanyang, mayabong po yung kanyang mga dahon. So sir,
Yeah.
yun po.
Yeah.
Okay po,
Tama.
meron po ba tayong mga question?
Yup, si Ted.
Yes sir,
Hi,
Ted.
Doc Ted.
Yeah.
Good afternoon,
Yes,
Doc Ted.
finally, nakapag-present ka na rin, ha, Doc Tab.
Yes.
Yes, you mentioned a while ago that the biomass of pristine forest is about 5 times that of your best agroforestry system. Okay? Of course,
Yes.
we have emphasized this in your discussion before. So, I think you have to include also the assessment during extended dry periods or El Nino. What's happening with your agroforestry system? Are they able to conserve water and be able to supply the needed fresh water downstream in the populated areas of Zamboanga City. Uh, of course, we know this already that there's none. So the agroforestry system that you have discussed cannot be equated with pristine forest.
Exactly. Yeah.
While it is conserving the soil, there's 50% reduction in water flow. Well, that's good enough, but it is not yet that sufficient in terms during times of a massive dry period. So I think in your discussions later on, you have to emphasize this, that agroforestry systems should be situated in a watershed framework.
Exactly.
Still remain that we need pure reforestation so that the trees will do their hydrologic functions pretty well. Of course, we know very well our population had increased so much, so we cannot avoid the people in the uplands. Okay, where will they live? Where will they do and make a living? Yun ang isang concern natin sa agroforestry. Pero siguro, yun na nga, ang basis pa rin is paano naman ang tubig natin kung wala na rin tayo talagang forest. Kasi misnomer yung term na agroforestry, di ba? Nandun pa rin yung agro, di ba?
Correct.
Nasabi ko nga, net carbon emission din siya because of the use of the inputs to make them more productive, okay? And yun na nga, yung, of course, meron din siyang contribution sa carbon sequestration, okay? Because of the trees. But it will not match the carbon sequestration of our pristine forests. So, okay, yun lang ang aking ano at maganda naman at na-present mo itong anong ito. But as I've said, please contextualize your agroforestry system. Sige.
Salamat, Dr. Ted.
Sir Ted, medyo nakakalungkot kasi bakit kailangan tayong dumating doon sa punto na ang ating pagtatanim ay papunta na ng bundok? Gayong napakalawak dapat ng kapatagan na kung saan tayo dapat nagtatanim ng pagkain. So kailangan po talaga mag-adapt
Mark,
ng
wala nang choice eh.
Kaya nga po, sir.
Sino
Kaya nga po.
nagmamayari ng flatlands? Yan ang ginagawang subdivision eh. Alam mo naman, discussion nga natin last time. Okay? Yung mga prime agricultural lands natin, ay, wala na. Okay? Kaya
nga po.
Ito yung ano natin na para sa future generation dapat i-contextualize na ito merong batas na naka-file ngayon si Congressman De Lima, but then yun na nga, to stop land use conversion daw. Bakit hindi yung National Land Use Act ang kanilang ano dun sa pagkaka-comatose, okay? Para mas comprehensive siya. So,
nga po sir, buti nga po nagyan po ang mga tulad po ni Sir Rico, ni Dr. Rico, na kumbaga sir, mag-i-introduce po talaga na wala na tayong choice. We have to adapt. So we really have to practice agroforestry kasi because sir, that is the future. So papunta po tayo ngayon. Yes sir po.
Dagdag ko konti, ito experience talaga. Ito alam ni Dr. Ted to eh. Yung Zamboanga City, Mark, yung sa ating mga listeners dito, we're not blessed with lowland areas, no? Napakaliit lang yung aming lowland areas and less than 2,000 hectares na yung aming rice paddies. So over time, nababawasan pa ito dahil sa land use change and land conversion. We need development, new airport, hospital, schools, and other buildings. So we, year after year, nababawasan yung aming land area for food. Okay, so we are relying on imports. In fact, 89% of our rice coming from neighboring provinces and including Malaysia and India. So yun. Kaya maraming reports sa amin, mga smuggled goods and so on. So ito yung kaya Mark, more than 1 million people. That's the level of the number of people we are trying to feed every day. More than 1 million people. So we are highly urbanized, no? Ano yan without counting the transients, people coming from Basilan, Tawi-Tawi, Holo, Bungaw, and Sibugay and Del Norte, no? So napakadaming tao kaya punta ng Zamboanga is very traffic sa amin. So you see the vulnerability of food insecurity, napakataas,
Tama po,
yun yung
sir.
risk. And so we have no choice. We are moving up to produce food for the people.
Tama po,
Kaya
sir.
ito yung pinaghanda.
Napakahirap po, sir, ma-achieve ang iba pang SDG kung ang population po ay gutom.
Correct po, Sir Mark. Kaya ito yung aming we are preparing for this, tying our knots with the local government units and Department of Agriculture. So yun yung mga next move namin as our way forward na sana 2, 3, 5 years from now, we can achieve the goals of be able to provide food and livelihood and water for our people.
Opo. Salamat po, Doc Rico. So mapunta po naman tayo ngayon sa question po ni Sir Ike. Yes, Sir Ike, ano pong ating question?
Doc Rick, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Opo. Sa wetlands kasi, dominant species yung mangrove, no? So
Yeah.
ano ba dapat ang dominant species sa forest para mabilis saka magaling sa capture ng tubig?
Kung forest environment, Sir Ike, should be forestries. Like may mga tie-up din kami ng mga activity to also address the need of our forest. Pinopromote ni Office of the City Environment and Natural Resources dito sa Zamboanga City. These are indigenous forestries. Yun yung nawala White lawaan, red lawaan, apitong, nara, no? And yakal. So ito yung mga pinoproduce ng ating office dito. Yung counterpart ni Department of Environment and Natural Resources, ito yung Office of the City Environment and Natural Resources. So ito yung sa forest kasi yun nga denuded, and so dahil sa continuous yung illegal logging. So to address this, so even hiring mga forest rangers, Sir Ike, just to address immediate concern of our upland areas including our forest. Pero what I'm sharing, Sir Ike, ito yung mga perennial crops that can provide food, no? Ito yung lansones, kung fruit trees, nangka, durian, avocado, and so on. So there are very good cultivars or varieties of the fruit trees I mentioned in Zamboanga City and across Region 9. And this is widely grown in the upland. So as I said, you have the forest, you have the agriculture in the lowland, and since people are going up, no, going up to produce their food in the uplands, so we we marry the forest and agriculture and turn that into agroforestry. So there are specific agroforest perennial fruit trees that are suitable. We just need to assess the land area, climatic, and environmental. So kailangan din yon. And there are a number of annual crop species that can suitable or suitably can grow together with fruit trees, no? For example. So but there should be um, observation or this spacing is one, no? Spacing. So it's spatial, be observed, and temporal characteristics of the various annual crops, Sir Ike. So,
Follow-up
yeah,
question. Kaya bang buhayin ng forest economy yung baba?
kaya buhayin ng
forest economy, yung totality ng value-added production sa taas.
Um,
Kaya bang buhayin yung mga tao sa baba?
Sir Ike, we did a analysis. Like, for example, we have more than 1 million people, and 80% of our population resides in highly urbanized areas. Okay? So 80%. So that's 800,000 people. Okay. 20%, only 20% of that is located in the rural areas. And we have 70% of our land areas is upland. So we see the growth, population growth in the lowland is going very high, no? Linear yung kanyang growth, while we have limited areas to produce food. Now, in effect, if only 12,000 hectares yung ating CBFM, we did an analysis, if 50% of that 12,000, the 6,000 hectares planted with, nagsabay-sabay mag-plant ng sari-saring fruit trees combining with forest trees, at least na-address natin yung economy doon sa no, this is analyzed by our city planning and our city environment and natural resources. So ito yung kanilang analysis, and I think I also believe that their assessment is good enough kasi may mga reports sila man. So 60%, 6,000 hectares, economy will change maybe in 4 or 5 years, no, from the time it is implemented. Mahaba din, Sir Ike, yung kanyang gestation period. Kaya ito yung ang return is sometimes our households in the uplands would not expand the idea of agroforestry in their areas because the return is very, very slow, no? Very slow. So it will take 5 years before they can earn. So ito yung mga pros and cons. But addressing the economy of the 80% population of our population in Zamboanga City, that 6,000 hectares planted with agroforestry, ma-address siya, Sir Ike. No, yun yung analysis. Pwedeng-pwede, Sir Ike.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Salamat din, Sir Ike.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Rico, sa sagot po. So ngayon po mapunta naman po tayo sa question po ni Laura Baluyot.
Hi, Ma'am Laura.
Nag-raise po ng hand si Miss Laura Baluyot. Miss Laura, meron po tayong question? Sige po, habang wala pa po sagot si Ma'am Laura, punta mo
Yes.
muna tayo kay Sir Ted. Sir Ted, ano po ating question?
Ano lang, suggestion lang kay Rico dun sa planning, una, kung tingnan natin, ilan bang hektarya ang kailangan ng bawat isang participant sa agroforestry, sa CBFM? Ang ano kasi natin palaging yun na nga, we want to accommodate as many as we can, okay? So kailangan siguro magkaroon din tayo ng metric para at least maganda ang magiging buhay, magiging income ng agroforestry participants natin. Yun ang experience sa Vietnam eh. Kasi kung 2-3 hektarya lamang ang kanilang yun na nga, tree-based farm, it may not provide sufficient income. So dapat meron din tayong policy statement na gano'n. Okay, as much as we want to accommodate many people doon sa CBFM area, but yun na nga, kailangan tingnan din natin yun. para at least yung best agroforestry combinations pwede rin siyang i-promote. Ano ba ang best income yielding agroforestry system ang dapat gawin sa isang area, considering yun na nga yung hydrologic role ng upland ecosystem, it is still kailangan kasama pa rin yung water conservation, no? Hindi lang yung water control na discuss mo kanina. So siguro yun ang isang pag-aralan pa rin ninyo with your students, no? Magkaroon ng mga ex-ante analysis dun sa different agroforestry system. Yun lang.
Dr. Ted, salamat. It's well noted. Sabi ko nga kanina in my beginning statement, yours truly is really working hard for the establishment of Agroforestry and Innovation Center in Zamboanga Peninsula. And
Yeah.
I'm done with the drafting of the proposal, presented it already to DA-BAR or and DOST. So any na lang. And that's in 3 phases for 3 years. Kasama na yung suggestion nyo na pwede. And in fact, we are part of it. Will be establishing mga model farms, demonstration farms. So, siguro, Dr. I'll update you and baka pwede pa kita kunin as consultant for that. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
With AI now, madali kasing mag-simulate na eh. Kumuha ng mga...
Salamat. At saka ito yung ating dream noon, no? When we were still in UP, sabi dream natin na gawin natin yung agroforestry. And over time, Dr. Ted, and that inspiration is still here. We are working on. So salamat sa guidance. Salamat talaga.
Oh, wala naman tayong choice eh. That's the choice kasi nga hilly to mountainous areas, 10% lang ang flatlands natin eh.
Correct.
Okay? Meron akong isang paper, no? Integrating tree crops, fruit trees based in. So, I will forward to you yung PowerPoint presentation. Pinag-lecture nga ako ng 1 whole day niyan, Dr. Kasem sa isang training. Integrating fruit trees, okay? Of course, what's in a name, okay? Alam mo naman, ang ating advocacy, medyo oxymoron term yung agroforestry. Pero yan na kasi ang nakasanayan natin dito. We have to emphasize kung ano man ang mas appropriate na ano. Kasi yun na nga, it's still agriculture. Agroforestry is agriculture, which is tree-based, no? Ngayon, yung mga short-term crops na ilalagay natin dyan, dapat mag-complement sila doon sa mga ano. Marami namang shade-loving short-term crops eh. And then, yun na nga, may project ka rin sa native chicken, native baboy, to increase the income of the farmers. Dapat ding ma-integrate yung mga gano'n. Okay? So, dun sa mga models na sinasabi mo later on. At hindi lang mag-concentrate dun sa trees kasi nga tagal lang paghihintay dun eh. Okay, sige. Congratulations at na-establish na pala yung center. Sige.
Sana ma-fund, Dr. We are working on that.
Wala pang pondo.
Wala pa. But
yan ang problema ng bansa natin eh. Kung saan-saan kasi napupunta yung pondo na yan eh. Okay? Masyadong kasi yung corruption sa atin eh. Bakit ang mga researchers, mga scientists natin, up to now, ang GERD natin, gross expenses on research and development is still way below of the recommended 1%. Up to now, mga 0.3% lang tayo ng GDP eh. Okay?
Correct.
So, yan ang malaking problema ng bansa natin eh. They don't look at science as and technology as the way to go in solving many of our problems, particularly environment and food security. Okay? So, sana magkaroon tayo ng presidente na tututukan ito. Na pag tiningnan, bakit tayo nahuli dito sa ASEAN, tingnan lamang yung GERD. Talagang huling-huli tayo. Di ba? Yun na lang ang salvation natin ngayon SLT. Tapos hindi mo pa poponduan. Yung mga scientists mo umaalis, etc. Okay? So,
Sir Ted, mahirap po
far
kasi
to
yan
far
na
ago.
wala po kasing kita sa sa agriculture. Mas malaki po ang kita sa DPWH, saka po sa
Mark,
pagkontraktos.
wag nating iwanan kasi ito eh, kasi bansa natin eh. Kaya dapat, if I may suggest, Mark, we have to look for someone who will address that. Dating chancellor ng UP Diliman, doon ako na ano doon sa si ex-chancellor Saloma.
Mhm.
Tatandaan mo? Ah? Siyang unang nag-reveal kung ano ang status ng SNT natin eh. Ang metric niya, sinentro niya sa GERD, Gross Expenses on Research and Development. At that time, lalong nakakaiyak eh. 0.12% lamang. Samantalang ang UNESCO, ang sinasuggest, 1% to par GDP. No?
Mhm.
So, kung maano natin through Ma'am Lourdes, siguro papagsalitain natin, no? Para at least magkaroon ng uh, definitive stand ang Future Earth Philippines na lahat ng pinag-uusapan natin dapat i-anchor sa SNT. Okay? At tingnan yung SNT at paano gumagalaw ito. So, yun ang aking final suggestion. Okay?
Po,
Sige.
Doc Rico, meron lang po akong gustong ungkatin. Yung napag-usapan po natin kanina na gusto nyo pong ilahad o ilapit sa DUST. Kasi narito po ngayon si Ma'am G, saka po ito pong si NS Cruz. Baka pwede niya po kayong i-lead o ituro sa kung saan departamento kayo pwedeng makahingi ng tulong.
Oo, kasi first time ko mag-work on itong project na ito yung kanyang scope. But I used to work with DOST on some native chicken. Baka alam ni ma'am, I'm working on it. Urban agriculture. Yun yung mga nagawa natin so far. But establishment of agroforestry, actually gawa na namin Sir Mark yung yung draft proposal for that. I can just yeah, baka nandyan si ma'am, no?
Ma'am G, Ma'am Luli, meron po tayong kaya maibibigay na direction kay kay Doc Rico? Ayan po si Ma'am G.
Ayan, G. Mas may alam si G tungkol dito.
Ay, ma'am G.
Good afternoon. Salamat sa iyong presentation. Nag-try ka na siguro sa Picard. Mayroon silang FIRD section on agroforestry. Mga graduate din yan ng UPLB. So, yun FIRD. Tapos, try mo rin ang Future Earth Forestry Foundation of the Philippines ngayon ay supported ng Government of Canada. They are into agroforestry din. Picard,
Okay.
yung third section nila is really supporting agroforestry. At saka yun nga, itry mo ang Forest Foundation of the Philippines. Kahapon lamang ay kami nandoon sa International Conference on INREM at nag-present ang Forest Foundation of the Philippines supported by Canadian government at sila'y tumatanggap ng proposal.
Wow. That's salamat.
Tingnan mo ang kanilang website.
Yes po.
Oo.
Salamat sa information.
Okay, sige.
We'll do
Thank
that.
you. And
Salamat.
I'm very interested sa iyong presentation. Napaka-useful sa atin ngayon.
Salamat.
Doc Rico, question ko lang po, nakipag-coordinate rin po kayo kay Academician Rex, yung ano po ng forestry?
Hindi pa, Sir Mark.
Sige po,
Actually,
sir.
may mga collab kami dito sa Visayas State University. Dito, ang aming dito sa DNR o CNR. Yun ang aking so far collab. But soon, baka may nagmowa na si WIMSU with UPLB. Baka pwede namin magamit yun for expansion of our collaboration. So,
Sige
yun lang.
po, sir, send ko po sa inyo ang email po ni Academician Rex po ng forestry po sa atin sa Los Baños. Baka po meron
Rex,
po siyang maitulong sa inyo.
sino ba yun,
Former
Rex?
Chancellor Rex Cruz. Former
Yeah.
Chancellor Rex Cruz. Ngayon ay academician.
Oo, kilala ko si Sir Rex. Nag-abot kami minsan dun sa Picard, dun sa aming mga proposals. Anyway, sige ma'am, I get in touch.
Sige po, malaki po ba tulong po sa inyo ni Academician Rex Cruz? So mapunta po tayo sa question po ngayon ni Sir Ike. Sir Ike?
Yung bang mga ideas mo na-consider ba yan ng National Greening Program? At saka yung Debt for Nature Swap, including itong carbon credits scheme?
Sir Ike, dalawa yung sagot ko sa'yo. The reason na lumabas ito, because there was a report that National Greening Program is only about 10% na na-accomplish nila across the country. Okay, so nakita ko din yon. I was in the local government nung time na yon because this was from 2010 up to 2016. So yun yung time frame. I was with the local government and I've seen how National Greening Program was implemented both in the uplands and in the coastal areas. So there was a report after the program, then only about 10% na na-accomplish nila or only 10% invested for the program na nagamit na maayos, natapon lang yung 90%. So, pangalawa, on carbon credit, yung Zamboanga City, Sir Ike, is not so much active with carbon credit. But currently, I'm working with the integrated RIDF, Integrated Rural Development Foundation. And this foundation is funded from abroad. And they kilala ni Sir Ted yung yung ang director nito. I'm now currently a consultant of IRDF. We designed a system for coconuts that is for carbon credit, Sir Ike. And to my surprise, they wanted me to design coconut plus gliricidia. Ito yung kakawate, Sir Ike. Kakawate integrated. And then yung kakawate will now will be the form and support for the black pepper, Sir Ike. Kita mo yung dynamics, coconut plus gliricidia. The gliricidia, that's the one that is marketed for carbon credit. Okay? So napakaganda, no? When I presented the idea to our Philippine Coconut Authority dito sa region namin, wala, deadma, no? Hindi na internalize the idea, Sir Ike, no? They have the money, they have the sayang sana because next to Quezon, Region 9 is next to Quezon in terms of land area and production of coconut, nasa Region 9. So kita mo, Sir Ike, it really depends on the priority, no, and the trust of our government. Napakahirap, Sir Mike, to market our idea. Even if that is very scientific in nature, baka hindi pasok, then we cannot get that. We cannot just
Doc
market.
Rico, hindi lang nababalita pero scam yung NGP.
Okay. Oh,
Ghost trees yun.
so yun pala.
I think so.
I was afraid to mention that ghost something, no? Because nasa government po tayo, Sir Mike. Pero that was it. That was it.
Yeah, tsaka random yung sporadic yung planting.
Yeah.
Kung anong seedlings yung mabili, yun ang tinatanim. Kung saan-saan, hindi siya precision. Yun na nga yung next question ko Kaya bang i-layout yung bundok para malaman kung ano dapat itanim? Kung
Kaya.
saan, kailan?
Kaya. We
That's
did that.
good.
We did that in Palawan. Kayang-kaya, Sir Mike. Sir Ike.
May data ba sa soil analysis, wind factor, rainfall?
Kasama,
Meron?
may data, environmental data kasama, elevation and so on, Sir Ike. and native vegetation around is part of the analysis. We did that in Palawan. I work with another, in Yamang Bukid Farm. I was a consultant for 2 years, and we designed a system. Ito naman para sa kanilang yung native tea, no? It's only grown in cool, high elevated areas. So it's really mountainous, Sir Ike. And we design it kayang-kaya.
Siguro
And-
yun ang next lecture mo, Doc. Precision Forestry.
Maganda yan kung samahan ng hands-on, Sir Ike. No? Talagang oo. Anyway, I got a opportunity here to do it across the region, Sir Ike, demonstrating how we can develop food system in the upland and high elevated areas. Kayang-kaya, Sir Ike. It's a matter of operating everything. Gagawin natin ng complete analysis bago po tayo makapag-recommend what system is suitable at what level yung kanyang maging production. Production. So, kayang-kaya, Sir Ike.
Sige po, yan ang next lecture nyo sana.
Tingnan natin yung time. Yes. Sige po.
Alright, thank you.
Salamat, Sir Ike.
Doc, question ko lang po. Magta-try po ba ang agroforestry system kung let's say meron po tayong native na species ng mga puno na matagal na po doon na nakatanim, tapos mag-i-introduce po tayo ng mga species tulad po ng mga mangga, ng mga nyog. Sa palagay niyo po ba magta-try po siya eventually na o eventually yung isa madodominate yung isang species, what will happen po?
Yeah, I mentioned analysis kasi it's really a lot of groundwork, Sir Mark, groundwork and incorporating different data na makukuha natin. So climate and environment yun, magsama talaga yun. And plus the on-site vegetation. Now going to existing, let's say, forest that is scattered siya, no? Kasi may mga ganong may mga ganong yung mga existing forestries pero they are not clustered but they are scattered, so it can still provide areas for some trees or fruit trees to be integrated. Pero closed canopy, Sir Mark, hindi na namin hindi na natin pwedeng galawin yon because yung closed canopy. But, well, there are species na, tulad sabi ni Dr. Ted na it can thrive to at least to 40-50% shade. May mga ganong species. May nakita ako sa Benguet, a type of coffee, and integrated in pine trees. You see? Pine trees, Sir Mark. And they can harvest a very good beans, no? Beans. So yun yung kanilang pinopromote because pine trees are common in Benguet and in Baguio, no? So yun.
Actually,
So
sir, meron po kaming naging speaker dito po sa SDG na meron po siyang ganang business sa Barlig sa
okay.
po. So ang meron po sila doon parang land domain na namana po sa kanilang mga ninuno na communal po yung lupa na kung saan sir ini-integrate niya po talaga yung pagtatanim ng kape doon po
Yun.
sa forest niya.
Yun. Kasama, coffee can thrive to up to 50% shady and so with cacao. Ganon din si black pepper. Kaya pwede siya ma-integrate dun sa yung mga common native natin na perennial crops, no? Perennial trees. So yun si kakawate, pinartner dun sa black pepper. So it can thrive well. Pero
Sir,
forestry,
madami pala tayong mga high value crops na pwede po talagang integrate sa forestry farming.
pwede, Sir Mark. Ang kaso sa national government, most of these crops are neglected. Nakafocus tayo sa rice, sa corn, no? High valued crops. Ito lang yung pinupunduhan. Pero other than this, like the potential of fruit crops, for example, itong black pepper as a commercial crop, we are importing black pepper. no? Up to 80-85%. Hindi sa atin yung black pepper. Cacao, we are now importing. We are importing coffee. So saan yung ating mga coffee areas noon? So pinutol, tinamnan ng rubber. When the rubber, yung price niya went down, pinutol din yung rubber, binalik si coconut. May mga ganong, so walang, kaya tulad ni Dr. sinabi niya is wala tayong mga permanent system na identified for this area. Yung concept na one town, one product, Sir Mark, no? That is also applicable in our upland environments. Pag itong elevation, meron kaming ginagawa ngayon, Sir Mark. Our university funded for the analysis dito sa isang area namin na vegetable granary namin. So now we are developing the land crop suitability map, no, for that. So kasi nakikita na natin na the variability of climate and soil and so on affecting crop production. So very key ang soil. Tama si Sir Ike. We need to see the soil as a dynamic, entity for growing crops.
Po. So maraming salamat po, Doc Rico. So meron pa po ba tayong mga katanungan sa ating pong mga audience? Okay po. So anyways po, reminder lang po sa ating mga attendees, just kindly check the link and see if it's working or not habang tayo po ay narito pa po sa linya. Pakibigay po ko ng thumbs up o kaya heart react para po pwede pa po natin i-fix if there's any issue with the form.
Okay, so far okay, it's working. I am now putting some information.
Awesome po.
Mark.
Maraming salamat po and Doc Rico, maraming salamat po sa pagbibigay po ng inyong oras ngayong Biyernes. Napakaganda po ng inyong topic at talaga naman pong dapat pong pagtuunan ng pansin. Hindi na po tayo dapat mag-focus sa kung ano ang merong dapat iambag po sa urban areas na ngayon po ay nalulunod na po sa baha. So ito pong inyong binigay na topic ay isang magandang nakikita ko pong solusyon. Hindi lang po sa issue po ng pagbaha, kundi issue po ng kabuhayan, issue po ng sagot po sa pagkagutom. So ito po sir, kumbaga sa tatlong SDG, sa SDG sir, tatlong SDG yung kayang sagutin. Environment, pagkagutom at baha.
Yeah.
So nakita po natin na ang agroforestry po ay isang pangmatagalan at matibay na solusyon na pwede pong i-adapt po ng ating bansa. So Doc Rico, ano po, panghuli pong kumbaga pwede nating sabihin sa ating mga audiences at mga manonood sa nakikita niyo pong future po na dapat pong suportahan ng agroforestry?
Yeah. Compounding ang issue, problem, wala tayong law that protects our land, especially agriculture, that's been pending in the Senate for 26 years. So we cannot outrightly protect whatever lands we have in the upland areas. So lahat vulnerable to land conversion and land uses. So in our future approach to food system is the utilization of upland areas. Ang ayaw natin, Mark, na mag-happen ba in the future that we are encroaching much of our land and encroaching to forest areas. So mas mawalan tayo ng forest to favor agricultural production. So hindi natin pwedeng like the case of Zamboanga City, it's happening now. And the only way we can conserve the forest while at the same time producing food and addressing livelihood and income of our upland households is agroforestry. And there is hope in agroforestry systems kung tama lang ang pag-implement, Sir Mark. So it requires planning and technical experts. Alam ko meron dyan sa bawat municipality, nandyan si DNR, nandyan si DA. So we can always converge for a better future of our upland environments. Salamat po, Sir Mark.
Salamat din po, Doc Rico. So ito lang po ay isang salamin na ang bawat pong problema kinakaharap po natin ay kailangan po ng solusyon na nakabase sa siyensya. Nakabase po sa mga pag-aaral na ginawa po ng ating mga eksperto tulad po ni Dr. Rico. So sa ating pong mga audience dyan, patuloy po na tayong humawak sa kapangyarihan po ng pag-aaral ng libro at sana po ay dumami pa po ang mga taong interesadong maging doktor at maging dalubhasa at siyentipiko tulad po ng ating panauhin ngayong araw si Dr. Rico Tabal. So with those notes, maraming salamat po sa pagsama po sa amin ngayong hapon. At enjoy po natin muli ang ating weekend, Sabado-Linggo. Tayo po ay mag-refresh sa dami-dami pong problema ng ating bansa na kinakaharap ngayon. So let's enjoy the rest of the weekend and have a great day. Bye for now.
Sir Mark.